Lavish gifts, Louis Vuitton bags, and luxury watches. For the so-called Nepo babies of Nepal's rich and powerful, the trappings of the country's wealthy elite have become something to boast about on social media. But for millions of young Nepalese facing a shaky economy, high unemployment rates, and political nepotism, the flashy posts by politicians' kids smacked of something else entirely.
The main reason was corruption that arises with everyone who is ruling the country, who is leading the country. They undergo a lot of corruption. That results in less development, but still the youth were fighting for their employment.
But Nepal is not alone. Across Asia, youth movements are rising up against what they see as a culture of corruption and economic mismanagement.
Politicians' babies were having a relaxed life. That creates hunger of revolution in youth.
In both Indonesia and the Philippines, protests over corruption, nepotism, and self-enrichment have spread in recent weeks. Many say they believe government officials are effectively selling out the futures of average people to enrich wealthy elites. And in Nepal, Indonesia, and the Philippines, alleged evidence of just how well the country's 1% lives is coming from an all too likely source: social media. Yet, none of this is new. Social media has been part of everyone's lives for years. Countries across the globe have been plagued by corruption and political nepotism for even longer. So what has changed?
Social media helped to expose corruption by making it this information which was so once hidden visible in real time, because it's very easy to spread, it's very easy to share. Everyday people like you and I can share photos, videos, leaked document if we want to, if we have access to, that show the gap between elite privilege versus everyday people, everyday struggle. It's unlike traditional media, because traditional media obviously might take days, right, or weeks to investigate, but platform can help spread evidence instantly and virally.
Although these countries differ on a number of levels, there are some similarities. The NGO Transparency International's Corruption Perception Index ranks them among the world's most corrupt. Despite experiencing rapid economic growth in recent years, inequality remains or has grown worse. In Indonesia, wealth inequality remains a serious problem. This chart shows the percentage of the country's wealth that is owned by the top 10%. And the bottom 50%. Charts from Nepal and the Philippines show similar levels of wealth inequality. Nepal and Indonesia are also countries with large populations of young people and high levels of youth unemployment, with a 13% jobless rate in Indonesia and 20% in Nepal. Many disillusioned young people are emigrating overseas in search of better economic opportunities. Their plight is compounded by rising inflation and uncertainty brought on by U.S. tariffs, making corruption among the privileged few an even more bitter pill. So, what were the catalysts for these protests? In the Philippines, the outcry started after torrential rain caused disastrous floods in the capital, Manila. The waters rose despite the government having spent $9.2 billion in anti-flooding projects since 2022. A state investigation revealed that of the 2,409 contractors hired, 15 companies captured 20% of the budget. The probe found these contractors ran several ghost projects that only existed on paper. Filipinos began naming and shaming individuals suspected of benefiting from embezzled public funds, like in this community on Reddit. They include the Filipino influencer Claudine Ko, known for sharing her upscale lifestyle online. Her father's company was among the 15 contractors cited in the investigation.
The people are tired, the people are fed up, and the lack of government action on this very long-running issue of corruption requires people to go to the streets and express their outrage in the hope of pressuring government to actually do their jobs, to do something.
An investigation is underway into the companies implicated, as Philippine President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. vowed to hold accountable anyone found guilty. A similar online trend has taken place in Nepal. The hashtags Nepo babies or Nepo kids were used thousands of times, fueling discussions on corruption and social inequality. But a ban on 26 social media apps was a turning point, sparking huge protests that resulted in 19 deaths and the toppling of the government. In Indonesia, it was lawmakers' attempts to grant themselves a massive pay rise that set off massive demonstrations. Mostly young protesters demanded greater transparency and accountability from politicians, many of whom were exposed for their lavish lifestyles.
Listriknya siapa yang bayar? Pajaknya siapa yang bayar? Udah dibayarin kita mau ini lagi. Enak aja. Hanya satu kata, apa? Yang keras, apa?
But it was the death of a motorbike rideshare driver during a protest that set off the powder keg.
This kind of like a push for other people that believe in the same ideas, right, in the same country to do the same thing. So that's why we could see that the Gen Z protest is very, what we call it, dominant now, and also interesting to observe because we found similarities in terms of what they're trying to say, despite the fact that they have perhaps a slightly different issue that is very country specific.
The movements were sparked by domestic issues, yet the use of social media by young protesters calling for change is reminiscent of the 2011 Arab Spring.
So social media not only help to spread that information within the country, right, but also if other countries are using the same social media, that information can move across borders. It becomes transnational, right? It becomes like cross-border information sharing.
For example, the Jolly Roger flag flown by the Straw Hat Pirates in the Japanese anime One Piece has been adopted as a standard for Gen Z unrest. In One Piece, the main character is a young pirate seeking freedom and defying a corrupt world government in a deeply unequal world.
Say, for example, that one piece flag that was first used in Indonesia are now being seen in other countries like, say, Nepal and also the Philippines.
With social media amplifying public dissatisfaction against the elite, governments may be tempted to rein in social media.
For decades, like government have believed that controlling information was the key to maintain power. Information will only make things worse for the government, right? So what the government actually needs to do, right? So banning is no longer banning information and banning social media. I mean, it's no longer effective because it's actually amplifying this protest because people could find ways to get this message out.